All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Whiskey Wednesdays. Today I'm joined by Raia Was, and we're so excited to chat with her today about her single that just came out, Go, and her upcoming album. How's it going? So excited to chat with you today.
Hi. Yeah, I'm really excited to be here with you.
Awesome. So we actually had Raia on one of our live stream concerts back when we first, went into lockdown, and we're so excited to have her on that. And hopefully we get to do some more in-person stuff soon. I miss that so much. I'm sure you do too.
So much. But that show you put together was such a bright spot. It was so nice to have something to prepare for, and the bill was so fun. I was really happy to do that show.
Hey, oh, glad. That's so glad. And actually, I just watched another live stream, the one that you did for Come On Everybody. That one was beautiful too. Oh, it felt almost like actually like on stage live, because you were like on stage. That's what was filmed, but it was fun.
Yeah. Oh, it felt that way for us too. My drummer and I were just like reveling in being able to do that. Also to do a new set that way. And yeah, Come On Everybody's the best. They really are just the best hosts.
Oh, yay. So I guess just to, do a little intro for anyone who may not know you, how did you get started into music? Where did your love for music come from?
Man, I've been performing forever. I've performed since I was a kid. I grew up in New York City. I grew up downtown in Manhattan, and I started subbing for my piano teacher. I was studying jazz and improvised music, and I started subbing for my piano teacher for his gig on Avenue B on Sundays when he would not feel like doing it, or mostly just not feel like doing it. And yeah, my mom let me roll down there, and it was like a three-hour gig, and I'd play 3 45-minute sets and get a shift meal and get paid, and it was the best. And I just got the bug. But I loved music from a really young age, and I was playing piano from a young age, and yeah, I don't think it surprised anyone that I just never stopped, But yeah, I started performing then, and then I moved to New Orleans and just really performed from like a craftsman space, like it's like a trade. Particularly when I was mostly just a piano player, it was really like a trade. Just really cool. It's a cool way to experience being a musician, especially first,
That's cool. I didn't know that you used to live in New Orleans. How different is the music scene down there than it is here in New York?
So different. I mean, particularly relating to what the sort of experience I'm describing, that being a musician is a trade. You gig a lot more and with more of a diverse group of folks, at least from my experience. And I'm not, from New Orleans, and being from New Orleans and playing as a musician from New Orleans is a totally different experience, I'm sure. But yeah, you just gig in lots of different capacities. You'll do a day gig and an afternoon gig and a night gig, you know what I mean? And musicians are hired in a different way in New Orleans. It's part of the tourism. It's deeply part of the tourism, and there's music at more events. They're more like arenas for music. Musicians get hired. It feels like for a much more varied type of event. So you play more and in more varied spaces, was my experience at least. And then moving back home was a little bit of a shock to come back to being a musician is very different here, and even being a musician, the way that, life has taken me at this point is different from how I started. New York is different from how I started. And yeah, it's the I keep wanting to say craftsman, but the craftsman piece of I'm a musician, I play music for a living, I play piano. You want to hire me to play piano at your show, at your thing, It's different than being an artist for sure, and like front woman solo artist kind of vibe.
Yeah, for sure. When was the first time you felt like you were fully being able to like be an artist and like just like be that front person and express yourself in the way that you wanted?
Yeah, I mean, this record and this project is really that. I had mostly been in other bands before this project, and I thought of myself, and I still think of myself as a collaborator primarily. I love collaborating. I love working with people. I love figuring stuff out together. But yeah, I was like a bandmate. I was like a side person. And the writing this record, which I feel like I wrote sort of despite myself. I wrote it like late at night after things, like fitting it into, into life. And it really sort of revealed to me, like, you have to do this. You have to go for it this way. So yeah, this record is very much that for me. Like I have no choice but to be an artist in this way. Sort of, I just was compelled. Yeah.
When did you start writing the music for this album?
I started writing music for this album years ago. I had, in the summer of 2016, I had a long, 2 months in a studio in Bushwick with a really dear friend of mine named Sam Wadsworth, who was tracking. We just tracked like a ton of instrumentals that would go into making this record. And my friend Tyler Gilmore, who goes by Blank Forms, was helping me arrange, particularly doing like choral arrangements, horn arrangements. So the three of us were like chipping away that summer a ton and sort of got all the source material. I'd written the music, but like got all the source material for what would become the record, like later in production. And then after that summer, I ended up going on tour with Untitled with his record. His second record had just come out then. And it was after that tour that I was sort of telling him about the project when he was like, I'd love to work on this with you. So after we got home from that, we started taking that material and sculpting it together. It was a pretty magical process. It was a very magical season. That summer and that fall was, very cool. I treasure it.
Oh, that is so cool. I mean, I love Untitled. I didn't know you toured with him. That's awesome.
I do too.
I definitely have seen him play before, so I probably saw you and didn't even realize it was you, and because I didn't know you yet. That's so cool. What was the process like working with all those different people? You're saying you love being a collaborator, and now having other people to work on your personal music with you. How was that?
Well, it was different because I was used to at that point being in the what do you want to make happen? How can I do this? Like, what can I do with my voice? How can I work for you? And for that to be flipped was a little painful, in that the record comes from a lot of strife, and it's hard, very vulnerable space to be in with people. But Achinova and Tyler, they're just both very, they're the kind of people that make a lot of space for you, and are like, it's cool, in your time, take your time. So I could get my bearings. And by the time Achinova and I were in the studio, really chipping away at this, we worked on it for maybe about 9 months. It felt like he had such a clear understanding of what I was trying to say and what I was going for, that he was just helping me get out of my own way and helping me translate closer, to the original source, even to the demos before I went into the studio to get, those arrangements down. He was really trying to get back to the origins of where the music came from. And in that way, he sort of is a translator, that was a little bit what it feels like. The role he ended up playing was a little bit as translator, which is so cool. Yeah, I just can't say enough about how special that experience was. And I still he's like one of my greatest confidants. I send him whatever I'm working on. I really value his opinion and his ability to know me and hear me, you know, and to like say like keep going, you know, and I'm like, okay, but it's hard, okay.
It's so nice to have somebody like that in your corner while you're working on one, such a vulnerable piece of art, and two, like your first like main like this is me like album, like it's very helpful.
Yeah. And he was really, I think he had seen a show of mine. He definitely saw a show of mine before I was on the road with him. And he was like, you need to do this. Like, you're an artist. You gotta do this. I want to help you do this. So yeah, that intention there helps me be brave and like, and like, okay, I'm going for it.
That's awesome. Where did like, you know, some of the inspiration for the songs and music come from for this album?
Mm-hmm. I was doing a lot. I think music can often feel like an inner monologue. Art feels like an inner monologue. But I was like I was really questioning myself, and not in like just like questioning what I took for granted about who I was and about like my identity. And I was so curious to like elbow at the borders of like who I think I am, and was curious to play different roles and to sort of see where it might lead me. I think the fact that I wrote so much of it, kind of like I'm saying, like despite myself, like a little bit in a fever, helped me hear myself a little closer. And I would often listen to like first and second rounds of what I was writing and be like really surprised or feel like, oh my gosh, that came out, I said that, you know? And then was like, well, what if I just say it all? Like, what if I let that be okay and not like, not trying to draw a through line of who I am. And in that way, like, you know, it's, I ended up splitting up the record into two halves because it felt like the songs were falling into two camps. And they were really in conversation with each other and they were reacting to each other and really kind of like, there's like a dialogue going on internally within the record, in terms of like who the characters ended up becoming. And I just kind of, I let it talk to me. I let it sort of tell me what it wanted to be. And and then kind of like make sense of it afterwards. I don't know if that answered your question.
No, you're diving like deeper into yourself and like learning about you in the process of making this album, which I think is great for any artist to do. That's what makes it easier for people to connect to your music, I think.
I hope so. I mean, I hope that it likes, I find, especially listening to the record in headphones, like in quiet, that it speaks to some of like the unsaid stuff, you know, like the sort of and I know I'm on the right track when I'm writing lyrically or musically or whatever. And I feel like I'm embodying a feeling that's just like the little stuff, you know, like the stuff in between that really feels like where my mind wants to live and where the music wants to like capture some of that intangible, slippery sort of like stuff of being alive. And I think like at its best, the music, I hope, can sort of sit there in your head, you know, and you're kind of like, I know that, like that feels familiar. I know that feeling. I don't like, you know, do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Slippery for a reason. But yeah, that stuff is like really interests me in capturing that. And I really hope that it feels familiar to people.
I think you do a good job too of like bringing forth that feeling, not only like with your lyricism, but in the actual like instrumentation of your music. Like whenever I listen to your songs, it just makes me feel like I should be like floating in a cloud and like glowing in the sky or something. I'm like, oh, this just makes me feel like radiating some like all of the emotions at once. It's awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, I pick the instruments and the sounds like very specifically and very carefully. It is like not random. It'll take days to get the right synth sound. And I like a very particular type of, I know it when I hear it, you know?
Yeah.
Achunava and I, especially with the song Go, that's out today. There was a lot of tug of war about like some of the specific sounds, like about like very minute details. And I was like, no, but we have to pull down the highs in this range on this, and like between this measure and this measure. I just had like a really strong feelings about it.
You know how long it took specifically to create Go?
Go was one that Tyler had played a big role in arrangement-wise, so there was a lot in place when Achunava and I got into it, but it was one of the ones, some of the songs like Reprise, we worked on it in a couple days and we were just like, put a lid on it, that shit's done. It's great, let's move on, you know? Just like felt good, and then when we returned to it, still feels good. And Go was one that I kept coming back to, particularly about like this handful of, I think some of the space that the synths were occupying, I just had really strong feelings about, and I kept wanting to nudge and nudge to like hit the right note. Like I'm saying, like I know it when I hear it, and it's like, it's almost there, it's so close. So we probably returned to that like maybe 3 times in the process of the whole 9 months. And I believe it was one of the last ones that we finished. And then when we got it, I was like, yes, that's it. Felt so good.
So the music video for Go is also out today, and I just watched that before talking to you, and it's just a video of you singing the song and running through this like forest, like snowy forest the whole time. It seems like that's kind of reminiscent of like your journey with the song, creating the song too, because it's just like, oh, I'm gonna like keep and get through this song. And was that shot in one take too?
Yeah, it was shot in one take. Thank you for that like really lovely description. I've been really into the visual language while releasing this record, and I love this video. What you've just said about it, I feel like I'm understanding something about it from the way you just talked about your experience of it, which makes me so happy. It was shot in one take, and a very hilly take. I don't know if it shows, but like there was 2 steep incline and declines. Incline and decline. And like, right, by the end, I think the end bit is like an incline, like a slow incline the whole way. And I was just like, it was rough. But the video came about because as we were working on the record, I was running a ton, and I would run to this demo constantly. And when the chorus hits, when the drums hit, I would just take off. And like, it was my favorite track to like end a run with, to just like sprint it out at the end, and just felt so cathartic. So I was like, you know, I think I want everyone to know that this is an option for them while listening to this video, that it's a good running song. We're gonna do it this way. And it's, you know, it's the last song, it's the last single of the record cycle. It's like the last, you know, it's the point 2 of the marathon or whatever. And just feels like an appropriate last visual before the finale, you know?
Yeah, it's like, oh, we're running to the finish line. The album's almost here. Here's the last one for you. A little teaser.
Exactly. Yeah. And there's a little subtle like sleight of hand with the video. It starts and you can see like a couple homes and a couple mailboxes, and that like quickly disappears, and the rest of it, there's like pretty much no sign of civilization, and like the frame gets wider and the space gets vaster, and you can see more and more of the landscape, and there's just no one and nothing, and it also felt like an escape, like a leaving of a world, you know.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if you're a runner, sometimes it feels like you've really left, like you've really gone somewhere, even though you've like run in a large circle.
Yeah, I don't often, but when I do, I understand that feeling because you kind of, especially when you're listening to music, you get into this zone. You're just like, oh, in a whole other world for sure.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that like long arc, the video is a long arc, and that sort of quiet piece of their of like you have the last glimpse of civilization and then you never get it again. I'm really proud of that detail.
Where was that filmed?
It was filmed in Redding, Connecticut, which is a very quiet, sleepy place in Connecticut, a very, very beautiful place. I think I shot it maybe the day before Christmas. I directed the video of two videos before this for Angel I'm Frightened for the title track of the record. It was the first time I directed, and I similarly ran this shoot, which is cool. I'm really loving doing like the conceptualizing and directing these videos. So yeah, I got the crew to do it right before Christmas. Bless them.
Oh, that's cool. With the album that's coming out in May, was that the original plan for when it was supposed to come out, or did anything kind of stall because of what's going on in the world right now?
Yeah, we stalled. The plan was to drop it last summer 2020. And I like super needed to slow down a year ago when pandemic hit. It's just like my brain stopped. And after recalibrating, we released a song in April, and a song that we had prepared and like had done the video for and everything before the pandemic. And I just felt like I needed time. I also released 2 compilation records for food relief, to benefit food relief, which were so much fun to put together with artists, all New York-based artists. Actually, that's not true. Volume 2 has non-New York-based artists, but artists who love New York, who were generously willing to donate music for food relief. And that took up a bunch of time, so I kind of took a big pause twice to do that. And then I kind of just followed my gut on when I felt like I could release a song and put together, some visual for it and get my head in the game. And when it just felt like too much. It felt like too much a lot. So I took my time. Very happy I did. It lined up with this great opportunity to print vinyl for the record. And, the stars aligned and the vinyl came together. So now we're able to release the full LP digitally, also with the vinyl release, which I'm thrilled about. Printing vinyl was always a dream for this record, definitely since side A, side Bing it.
Yeah.
So I'm really happy with the choice to have waited. It feels like kismet.
Yeah, that's gonna be great. Your music in general is just beautiful, but like on vinyl, it's gonna sound so cool.
I hope so.
I know stuff is still kind of unsure right now, but do you have any plans for around the time when your album comes out? Is there going to be even maybe an online kind of event?
Hoping to, for sure. I would love to do an online event. I'm a little more inclined to wait and do something in the summer outside if possible. I just love a party, and I have so many friends who DJ and friends who I love just throwing parties with, who I feel like it'd be great to try and do something in person with. And I don't mind waiting. I don't need it to be on the day of the release, but we'll do something for sure.
Yeah, as most people in the music world, that we all feel the same. We totally miss going to shows and being around that collective group of people being excited about music, especially when a new release.
Totally. Yeah, totally. I don't want to push it too soon though. I think all of our brains are going to need a lot of recalibrating, and it's going to be interesting. And I hope that everyone is slow and gentle with themselves, re-emerging I feel that for myself also, that I'm going to need to be slow and gentle in finding my way back out into the world. So I know it'll be right when it's right. But yes, ultimately, please, dear God, get us in a space together again.
Oh my God. Yeah. And hopefully that comes soon. But yeah, definitely like it's a good idea for everyone to like take at their own pace, you know, and get there when they're ready. Just like you did with making this album for yourself.
Exactly. We'll get there when we're ready.
Well, thank you for chatting today. It was so nice learning more about like the music process and the history behind things. And I hope everyone goes out and gives Go a listen and the video a watch because it's really cool. And get excited for the new album coming out May 7th.
Thank you so much, Marissa. So nice to hang with you always.
Of course. All right. Thank you, everybody. Until next time. Have a good one.